So, how many times have you heard that equality is actually oppressive? I'm sure you've heard some form of it, right? Where there's a Christian that says that, whatchamacallit, if you have gay marriage allowed, then it oppresses traditional marriage or some other nonsense like that. I'm sure there's some variation of this that you've heard. So, let's go ahead and take a look at what the Catholic News Agency has to say about the Equality Act. The title of this piece is USCCB Equality Act would punish religious groups opposed to gender ideology. Well, that's not a charged sentence at all. So let's go ahead and take a look at see what the context is. Washington, D.C., February 19th, 2021. The U.S. Bishops' Conference has come out in opposition to the Equality Act, which was introduced in the U.S. House on Thursday. The bill, introduced by Representative David Cicilline, would recognize sexual orientation and gender identity as protected legal classes in a variety of areas, including housing, education, and public spaces. Think about that for a second. Think about what kind of an absolute asshole you have to be to hear, wait, minority groups want protections because they generally suffer unduly? Burn them all! No. I can't think of what kind of an asshole you have to be to come to these conclusions. But GPH in the chat would probably be able to tell you. What with his tiny dick and all. Anywho. Goes on to say that critics have warned that this would erode religious freedom and enshrine the redefinition of marriage and gender ideology in law, requiring people and groups to conform to LGBT equality and transgender ideology, regardless of religious belief. Okay, so let me ask, what does it mean to conform to transgender ideology? Because it seems to be that the manifestation of that always ends up being you have to use somebody's pronouns, which is about as offensive as having to use somebody's name, in that it's not. People literally are just getting upset that other people are asking basic respect. Like, that's it. That's it. Goes on to say that instead of respecting differences in beliefs about marriage and sexuality, the Equality Act would discriminate against people of faith. It's warned in a voter guide. Well, hold on. If you, as a Christian, can have a traditional Christian marriage, but someone who's gay is not allowed to have any marriage, aren't you the ones oppressing them? And if they're allowed their kind of marriage and you're allowed your kind of marriage, how does that discriminate against people of faith? Well, it doesn't, but apparently the Catholic News Agency thinks that it does for some weird reason. Hell, we can even take a look at their voter guide. First, it says everyone deserves to be treated with respect and dignity. And then, of course, the rest of this is probably going to argue against it. The Equality Act, which is being voted on in the United States House of Representatives, in many ways does the opposite and needs to be opposed. Instead of respecting differences in beliefs about marriage and sexuality, the Equality Act would discriminate against people of faith. How, though? How does everyone having the opportunity to practice marriage and practice their own religion in the way that they want and so choose, how does that necessarily oppress you? As per many things here, the actual answer is that it doesn't, but when you desperately need to be a victim, when you desperately need to feel like the world is against you, else your entire ideology crumbles, Christian persecution complex being the most wonderful thing that it is, you would necessarily come to these conclusions. The Equality Act would apparently punish faith-based organizations such as charities and schools who serve everyone in their communities simply because of their beliefs. Wait, but how, though? Does it explain how? Is it that charity organizations would have to also give to transgender individuals or gay individuals, and they don't want that? Because, I mean, that's a lot of what Chick-fil-A used to fund. It would apparently force girls and women to compete against boys and men for limited opportunities in sports. Ah! Boy, it is almost as if every time that I have said that it's not about actual sports, it's just about transphobia, that manifests so easy. You make it so easy. They'd have to share locker rooms and shower spaces with biological males who identify as women. Now, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys, okay? This is just an obvious one, but for somebody who doesn't know, okay? And let's see here. I'm going to show you two individuals, and I'm going to ask you which bathroom you think they should go into. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to argue in favor of either of these individuals. In fact, I actually disagree heavily with both of these individuals politically on a lot of things. But I'm going to go ahead and bring them up anyway for the sake of this conversation. So let's say that on the one hand, you had Blair White. Okay? You have Blair White. Obviously, female. Easily. This is a woman. Now, what bathroom do you think she should go into? Well, according to the dumbasses over here, the men's room. Okay, let's get another one. This is super easy, though. Here's Buck Angel. Okay? This is Buck. Now, again, both these individuals, I disagree with politically a shit ton. But they're very, very convenient for this particular conversation. So we got Buck here. Now, I have a question. If you had a 10-year-old daughter going into the bathroom, would you be comfortable with Buck being forced into that bathroom as well? Well, I don't know. If you're a transphobe, maybe let me know in the comment section below. But I would rather him go into the fucking men's room. Gonna be perfectly honest with you. But wait a minute. Their definition here is biological males who identify as women. Okay. By that definition, that would be Blair here. And you think that she should go there? Okay. I disagree heavily. In fact, actually, statistics bear out that when you force trans people into the bathrooms that they don't conform to via gender, the rate of sexual assault goes up. But not towards the cis people. The rate of sexual assault goes up towards trans people. So, per logical consequence, if you support this, if you were to put your number here and be against the Equality Act, and you would try to force trans people into the wrong bathrooms, and I don't know why we're still having that conversation, but if that's the thing you wanted to do, then congratulations. You've just argued in favor of sexual assault, as long as it's trans people being sexually assaulted. Now, I'm sure you don't believe that. I'm sure you're a good, conservative Christian individual, and you definitely don't think that trans people deserve to be sexually assaulted merely for existing, and yet you would be willing to engage in every action that would manifest in the material world in a way in which they would get assaulted in the bathroom. Which would be really weird if you did that, just saying. Continuing on the article. The bill, the conference, and other critics warn it would uphold transgender ideology by requiring girls and women to compete against boys and men for limited opportunities in sports and to share locker rooms and shower spaces with biological males and who identify as women. We just read that part in the Action Center. The bill could also force doctors to perform gender transition surgeries. Oh boy! You mean a doctor would have to do their job? What a fucking weird world. What a strange coincidence. Having to make doctors do their job. Weird. I mean, if the doctor doesn't want to perform the surgery, he could always quit. Nobody's forcing him. We could go full Ayn Rand with this. We could go completely and totally libertarian with this if we wanted to. go ahead and conform to the way that this side generally thinks, sure. We're not forcing them. They can go get a job elsewhere. The market will provide, or some dumb shit. Groups opposed to the redefinition of marriage would be punished under the law. Okay, but how would they be punished? What? Are you going to show exactly how so? Or are you just going to say that so that your vapid article can fearmonger? Ryan Anderson, president of the Ethics and Policy Center, agreed that the bill would persecute those who do not embrace new sexual and gender ideologies. Okay, they've said this like 5 separate times, but they have yet to actually substantiate it. They've yet to actually show what would cause it. Let's go through the article as quick as we can and see if we can find it. So President Joe Biden praised the Equality Act. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's see. Did it say it up here? Religious schools and charities could face federal sanction for operating according to basic biology and mainstream biblical teaching on sex and marriage. So, you mean organizations that are supposed to benefit everyone would be punished for being transphobic? It's so easy to just not be a transphobe. Like, it's actually not difficult to not be a transphobe. Literally, all it is just respecting another person. That's it. Just giving them basic decency. That's not super difficult. It's really not. But these people twist themselves into pretzels, desperately trying to pretend that to engage in basic human decency would completely destroy their entire ideology, which, if basic human decency destroys your ideology, maybe, just maybe, the ideology is shit. Goes on to say that Biden, who in 2016 officiated a same-sex wedding, also touted his January 20th executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. The order stated his administration's policy of recognizing federal civil rights protection for sexual orientation and gender identity. The legislation was passed in the House in 2019. It's a policy priority of pro-LGBT groups such as the Human Rights Campaign. Oh boy, that's a place that I actually donate to. Biden has promised to sign this in his first 100 days in office. Anderson said the bill privileges men who identify as women over the safety of women. Now I have a question. What safety of women are you truly worried about? If you're going to go with the argument that this is about bathrooms, then I'm going to go ahead and say, again, the statistics bear out that things are actually worse. Like, there's more sexual assault in the world that you're advocating for, where trans people can't go into the bathroom that they want to. Secondly, more importantly, I have a question. Do you think that a sign that shows a woman in a skirt is a magical barrier that prevents a criminal from just going into the bathroom and doing what they wanted to do in the first place? Do you live in the deluded fantasy world where the rules merely existing in such a way that they don't allow something suddenly means that the thing won't happen? Because if that's the case, if you truly believe that just putting up a "don't rape here" sign is going to stop somebody from trying, then I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, the idea to a Christian that somebody would never violate a rule merely because the rule was stated to them or shown in convenient picture form in front of a bathroom, ignoring the fact that the idea that nobody would follow those rules, or that people would always follow those rules, flies in the face of Christian teaching. Like, literally, trade out the bathroom sign for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you have the exact same story. Humans will just do it anyway if they want to. You merely telling them not to is not enough. But it's not about making things functionally better in the material reality, though. It's actually about control. It's always been about control. It's about trying to make sure that people that they don't like are controlled. They don't like trans people, so they want to make sure that trans people cannot go into a comfortable space. And it's dumb. Also, just gonna let you know right now, if you've ever gone into a women's bathroom, there aren't urinals there. So how are you gonna even know that a trans woman walked in there? If frickin' Blair White or Riley Dennis, or I could list a myriad of people here, walked into that bathroom and sat down on the toilet and did their business, and then walked out, washed their hands, and left, you'd never know they were trans. But then again, we did go over that bit of legislation that literally argued for an actual penis inspection day for children in schools. So I can't say that they're not above trying to have somebody, fondle your genitals in front of the door to see if you're really a girl or some shit. Goes on to say, let's see here. If the bill becomes law, men who identify as women would have a civil right to spend the night in a battered women's shelter, disrobe at a women's locker room, and compete on women's sports teams, even children at K through 12 public schools. Okay? And if you're a trans woman, going to a battered women's shelter is where you should be if you need that kind of shelter. Can you think, in a world where trans panic is a legal defense that people use, can you think of a situation where somebody might need to go to a battered women's shelter? And it's amazing that these always focus so heavily on trans women. They just ignore trans men like they don't frickin' exist or some shit. He claimed that should the bill become law, Pope Francis would be treated as the legal equivalent of a Jim Crow segregationist. Well, you said it, not me. Due to his opposition of transgender ideology and the redefinition of marriage. Well, we aren't a Catholic nation, so who the fuck cares? And no one, not even the Act sponsors, can tell us what would be required under the Act to avoid committing discrimination in the case of non-binary gender identities. Okay. Here's how you avoid discrimination when it comes to non-binary identities. Hey, what's your pronoun? Okay, cool. We'll go with that. Boom. Done. Easy. That's it. That's literally all I had to do. That's all I had to do, and it's all you have to do. It's so easy. It takes no thought. It takes no time. And just like with somebody's name, if you forget their pronoun, who the fuck cares? Just ask them again. Hey, I'm sorry, I forgot your pronoun. Could you remind me? It's the same sentences. Hey, I'm terrible with names. I forgot it. Can you remind me what your name is? It's so easy. If you just trade out pronoun for name, this conversation is so much more simple. It takes literally no time, no effort. No effort that you weren't already expounding on somebody's frickin' name. And online, it's super easy too. Go to Twitter. Most people, at least most sensible people, have a pronoun in their bio if they're concerned with this conversation in any capacity. It's super easy online to just look. There are Discord surfers. Mine has areas where you could put in, hey, my gender identity is this. I'm more of a he, she. I'm more of a they, them. Doesn't matter. It's super easy in this day and age to just treat a pronoun like a name and go forward with that. That's all it takes. It's not hard. And yet, Catholic News Agency desperately needs to be the victim. It can't be the minority groups who are the victims. No. It has to be them. They desperately need to feel like they are the ones oppressed while they end up having power distributed equally. I don't know. This shit's weird. These people are weird. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you have an opinion on this, then I'd like to hear it. I'd like to know it. I'm always up for those kinds of discussions, even if I vehemently disagree with particular positions in those discussions. That said, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please check the description below if you'd like to support my channel and what I do. And as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.